Well, good morning, church. Thank you for joining us for our deep dive. Today we're in James chapter 5, verses 7 through 12. You know, as we are approaching the end of the book of James, he's kind of circling back around. Remember, he was writing this to the Jewish believers. He was writing it to the ones as they were facing persecution. And in chapter 1, he talks about having endurance under trial, that one of the reasons we can consider trials, tough times in our life, good is because they develop endurance. And now he's going, what is endurance? Endurance is the ability to stand firm in hard times, the ability to have patience. And he tells the church in verse 7 of chapter 5, he says, "Be patient, brothers and sisters, until the Lord's coming." In other words, he's trying to tell them, listen, guys, I know you're under a lot of pressure, but the Lord is coming, and you need to learn to wait patiently till he gets here. First, he gives them an example. Be patient like a farmer. A farmer doesn't plant seeds and then go out the next week and expect a harvest. There are seasons. There's they go through the spring, the autumn. There's a time of waiting, but a farmer knows, he has an understanding that there's a process of planting and eventually there'll be a harvest. And he's tried to encourage them. You're going through what seems to be tough now, but understand there will be a harvest. He tells them to be patient and not to complain or grumble about one another. You know, the amazing thing is, when we feel stress on us, we sometimes turn it into distress on others. It's something about when we're going through tough times, it can be easy for us to look at others and compare, or look at others and become upset. And he's telling them not to do that. As a matter of fact, he says, understand you'll stand before a judge. And why are you going to judge? Because as we know, you will be judged in the way you judge. So instead of complaining, instead of grumbling, trust in God, trust in the righteous judge. He says, be patient because the real judge is coming soon. Literally, he's standing at the door. He's trying to imply that Christ will be returning soon. Now, the early church thought Christ would return in his lifetime, or their lifetime. Christ didn't. But you know what? Their life was still short. 2,000 years ago when they died, their life was short compared to the time they've spent with God and will spend with God in eternity. And listen, either Christ will return and we'll be freed from this and be with him, or our life will end and we'll be with him. Either way, understand we will ultimately stand before Christ. Paul talked about this, the Bema seat, the seat where we as believers would stand to give recompense. And Paul saw it as a positive. Paul had paid it ahead. Paul couldn't wait to hear, well done, my good and faithful servant. For some, that will be a horrible moment. It's like getting those report cards. When you've worked hard and you've given it your best, you're excited to look at that report card. When you kind of not studied, you didn't turn in assignments, you know what? When you see that report card, you're like, I don't want to see it. And he's saying, listen, guys, have patience, because that's like paying the dividends. That's like doing what you need to do. It's like studying the books, and one day when the judge comes and when the report cards are open, they can say, well done, my good and faithful servant. He tells them to be patient because of all the examples they can see. As Jewish people, they knew the examples of the Old Testament prophets, and they were to be patient because they could see the example of how they were patient. He tells them to be patient because just like Job, who was patient and God rewarded him for his patience, they should know in the same way. Just as a farmer gets a payback for what he plants, just as Job was paid back for his patience, you will be paid back too. So understand that patience for a moment means the ability to stand firm and to understand one day, God will reward us for what we have done, for standing for him, for making the right choices. You may not see it in the immediate, but there is a payback that comes back as we understand that God is there, he cares, and he's the one we want to please, not those around us. So coming back, when you feel stressed and you feel these things in your life, let that be a wedge that drives you to God, not something that drives you away. Be patient. I'll say it again. Be patient, brothers and sisters, until the Lord returns. You'll be glad you did. Guys, thanks for continuing our daily dive. I hope you'll continue tomorrow. You guys have a great day.